And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a two-player abstract style game where you're building up a Castellan trying to claim courtyards for points. And that game is called Castellan by Steve Jackson Games, the company that brings you Munchkin and several other popular titles. This one a little bit outside of their normal line of games. As I said, it's two-player in the format you're going to see here, but you can play up to 4 if you buy 2 sets and play them together. Before I go into it too much, why don't we just take a look at what you get inside of the box and how the game plays, and then we'll come back here at the end and get my opinions on it. Here you can see the components for the two-player set of Castellan. Now, there are 2 different two-player sets. In essentiality, they're the same. One is green and yellow, it looks like this one, and the other one is red and blue. You can combine the 2 if you want and play 3 or 4-player games. One set, just like this one, will only play 2 players. Now, this is a semi-abstract game, and inside of this game you're going to get several different types of pieces. You're going to get these towers here. These towers are essentially going to be what you're trying to build around with walls. So you'll see the walls will hook onto the towers. You'll have these towers, and you're going to use cards to get different pieces, and then play those pieces to the boards. But walls will connect to towers like this. Now, in addition to that, you have long walls, the ones that I'm showing you right here. Long walls can connect to these tower junctions and essentially build the keep, and you'll be building around various areas, trying to enclose areas in order to claim them for victory points. You're also going to have smaller pieces, like these right here. These small pieces are essentially 1/2 the length of the long pieces if you have a tower in between. So if we were to hook a tower up here and put another short piece here, you'll see that 2 short pieces in a tower are basically the same length as a long piece. In addition, each player is going to have a set of these keeps here, these little towers that are going to go in the center of areas that are completed. When you square in or rectangle in an area, you'll place one of these in the center to show that you've claimed it. And at the end of the game, you'll score points based on how many towers are around that squared in piece. Each player is also going to have a deck of cards. There's actually 2 decks here, each deck with 7 cards in it. One of them is going to be the wall deck, and you can see it has wall pictures here. And on each of these cards, there's going to be wall pieces. All of them will have wall pieces on them, while some of them will also show tower pieces. When you play these cards, you're going to claim the pieces on the card and then use those to build out into the castle. In addition, some of the cards will have a card at the bottom, meaning that when you play this card at the end of your turn, you get to draw an extra. So most of these, or all of these, will have walls on them. They're primarily wall-based, thus wall deck. The other deck of cards is the tower deck. It shows a picture of a tower on it, and each of these cards will have at least 1 tower on it. You can see they're all there. They will also have some wall pieces, but these are going to be primarily tower-focused. So when you're drawing cards, you'll want to pay attention to whether you want towers or walls and draw from the appropriate deck. Now that I've showed you all of the components, why don't we go ahead and see how the game plays. On a player's turn, they're going to start the game with 2 of their tower cards and 2 of their wall cards. And on their turn, they're going to play as many of these cards to the table as they want. So they're going to look at them, they'll spend some time planning out, and they're going to play their cards to the table. So maybe this player decides to play these 2 cards to the table. I'm not going to think about it too much. They're going to play those 2 cards. When they do so, they're going to go to the box and they're going to grab the corresponding pieces. So they're going to get 1 of these walls, they get 2 short walls, and 1 tower. So this is what they have to work with for this turn. Now that they've done this, they're going to have to put all of these pieces together. So maybe they connect this one here, they connect one right here, and they connect the third one right here. That would be their entire turn. They did not completely enclose anything. Nothing has been squared or rectangled off, so they have nothing left to do. If they couldn't play a piece, they'd pass it to their neighbors. Sometimes you just simply won't be able to play a piece because there's nowhere to connect it to one of these towers, or whatever the case may be. You'd pass it to your neighbor and they would play the pieces. At the end of the turn, you always get to draw 1 card, but if you played any of these cards that have cards on them, you get to draw an extra one for each symbol. So now I may draw 3. I have 2 tower cards left, so I'm probably going to draw some of my wall cards back up to try and get more walls. I'll draw 2. As my last card, because I get 1 card plus the 2 that are on my cards, I'll draw 1 more tower, and I'll put that in my hand. These 2 cards will be discarded from play, I won't ever get them again, and essentially they're out of the game. Next, our other player would then go, and now, of course, we pass the turn to him, and he's going to get his chance to go. So he has 2 walls and 2 towers as well, his starting hand, and he's going to look at what he can do with them. So he would really like to get, for example, a tower, then a long, then a tower, then a short, then a tower. So he needs 3 towers, a long, and a short. So how can he do that? Well, here's 3 towers and a long, and here is a tower and a short. So he'll play these 2 cards. and he's going to put the other 2 away. He could play as many as he wanted if he wanted. He could get all those pieces, but note that if he plays a lot of cards, he won't have many on his next turn. So, he now gets 3 towers. 1, 2, 3. He gets a long piece, another tower, and a short piece. And so he has all of these pieces that he must place on his turn. To start out, he's going to place his tower right here, and then he'll place the long piece there. After he's done this, he can place a tower right here, and a tower right here, and his final short piece right here. Note he has 1 more tower to place, and we'll get to that momentarily. But he'll place this last of his walls right there. What he's done here is he's created an enclosed space surrounded by 4 towers. And he'll take one of his little scoring pieces here and put it in the center. Once per game, you can actually double up on this, and so he could put 2 towers here if he wanted to. At the end of the game, this is going to be worth 4 points, 1 for each tower around it, or if he doubles up for his once per game, 8 points. So, he'll just do 1 there. Finally, he has to place his last tower out here, and then he would pass the turn again by drawing 1 + 1 card back up and discarding these cards out of the game. So he'll throw these away, and he's played 1 of each card, so maybe he'll draw 1 of each back up. So now let's just say that we've skipped a little bit ahead, or go into a false scenario here. The green player has finished this area and claimed it, and it's currently worth 6 points. But we're back to the green player's turn. Maybe yellow on their turn only played a couple of pieces. It did something like this. And we're back to the green player's turn, and they decide to only play 1 card from their hand. Maybe they just play this card right here, and they're going to place those pieces. So we have 1, 2, 3 towers, and we have 1 of the short pieces to place on this turn. What they do with this short piece is kind of interesting. They're going to place it in here in the courtyard they've already claimed and divide it into 2. What this does is it makes this worth 4 points now, but it allows them to place 1 of their scoring pieces into the other side, which is also worth 4 points. 2 more than the 6 points they would have previously scored for only having 1 tower in there. They also have to place the remaining pieces, but can only place 2 of them. So they'll place those 2 and pass the remaining 1 to the yellow player, who play it on their turn. It's important to note that yellow could not have divided this courtyard into 2 because green had currently claimed it. The other player, the opposing player, is not allowed to divide a courtyard claimed by 1 player with their own pieces, thus taking the other half. Here we have simulated an endgame condition for Castellan. Now this is going to happen when essentially 1 player plays all of their cards. So it's going to take several turns, but eventually 1 player will play all of their cards. They'll no longer have any ability to play stuff out on the board. Then the other player will draw up the remainder of their cards. Maybe they have 3 cards left. They draw them all up, and they have the option to play out all of the cards in their hand. What will happen at this point is that all of the pieces that are available in the game will be played out on the board, at least all of the gray, neutral, wall, and tower pieces. You may have some scoring pieces left over like we do in this example. Now, this will happen because there are exactly as many gray pieces in the game as there are gray pieces depicted on the cards. So they'll always be gone every time. When this happens, you'll see that you may not have all of the areas enclosed. We have a couple of areas here that just simply didn't have enough walls or towers. We have one area over here that needed 1 more tower, and another on this side. Another thing you can't do while building is, for example, I am not allowed to build this wall here to divide this in half because there's no tower to connect it to and there's no room for a tower. So sometimes you'll have areas where you'd like to divide in half, but you can't because there's simply not enough room. Anyhow, when it comes to scoring, it's pretty simple. You're going to go through and you're going to score 1 player, then score the other. And how to score is you're going to find each of these colored scoring towers, which go in the areas that the player completed, and you're going to get a number of points equal to the number of towers around it. Unless, of course, it's the double area, at which point you'll get 2 points for each one of the towers around it. So let's score yellow. For this one here, yellow gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For this one here, it gets 1, 2, 3, 4 more is 9, and 4 more for the one on the other side is going to be 13. If they had not split this in half, it would have been 2 less. So it was good to split that in half. We're at 13. This one here is going to be worth 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we're up to 23. And this one here will be 4 more. We're up to 27. This one here is a pretty big area. It's worth 6, so we're at 33, but it could have been worth 2 more if they divided it in half. Finally, we have 1 more here, which is going to give them 5 more points to bring them to 38. Green is going to now score next. They have a huge area over here that could have been divided several times for more points, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 points for green. Plus 4 over here is 13, Plus 4 here is going to be 17. Plus 4 more is going to be 21. They have 6 here is 27. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2 is going to be 39. So they win by 1 point. If there had been a tie, of course, it would just result in a tie, and you'd have to play another game to resolve the tiebreaker. Well, there you have it. That is Castellan from Steve Jackson Games. A pretty solid, although a little bit lightweight, abstract game for 2 or up to 4 players if you buy 2 sets. Now, I say lightweight, and that's bad for me, but not bad overall. This isn't an abstract game that's likely to stay in my collection because of the lightweight play and some of the little bit of randomness that comes with the cards that are added to the abstract portion of this game. Cards always tend to add a little bit more randomness. If you draw the wrong cards, you can't get the right pieces and you may not be able to score the areas that you want. Now, you can counteract this by playing your pieces off in an area so that your opponent can't score points, or to try and limit their scoring capabilities. So you can react to that card play, and it does add a little bit more replayability in that aspect, but I think a normal abstract is going to have more replayability because you simply have to react to your opponent's plays each time. The pieces are very well made in this game, very solidly constructed. They feel very nice, although they do tend to stick a little bit sometimes. That's probably better than falling apart. The production quality is very well done. Definitely happy with that. As I said, not one that's likely to stay in my collection, but if you're a lighter gamer or you like simple abstracts with a decent amount of randomness in them that's going to change up how the game plays, I could suggest this one to you. So with that, if it sounds good to you, definitely check it out. That is Castellan from Steve Jackson Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.